There's so many wires. Oh my God. Welcome back to Enigma Garage. And this is why we don't trust anybody. All right, so we have the firing order here, which spark and injectors go from A to G on both of these. They go in the firing order. So 1, 8, 7, 2, 6, 5, 4, 3. I have gotten most of this harness done already. Well, some of the leads. And getting the injectors done one by one. And this is why you don't trust anybody. So I am on injector H4. So injector H, white purple. So we go over here. I have my white purple ready to go for soldering up. So purple, injector H. I don't know if it'll focus on there or not. So we have injector 4 here. Oh, that's not white purple. That's white purple. That's on 3. 3 is going to be G. So this guy probably sold me the Mega Squirt because he couldn't get his motor to run. So we are going to put the correct injector wire and we're going to double check the coils next. But it's a pretty simple process. I am putting a piece of shrink tube. Got the wire stripped. I'll cut off the correct number injector. And this is what they look like done correctly, which I'm going through most of these and have nice solder joints with heat shrink around everything. Everything's so much better. Okay guys, I messed up. So you're about to see me show you how to do the harness. It's wrong. This is the correct way to do it. I had it flipped backwards right here when I was pinning it. So just a heads up, this is the correct way of the cylinders on the driver side. And when I realized that, I had to fix these, which these D-pin are really easy. You just go into the smaller top side with a small D-pin tool, take this connector off the back side, and they pull straight out the back, and you can just switch them however you need to, like I did. Here we are in the next day, or probably a couple days later. I'm now onto the coils. Now, per this pinout right here, you would go like this with the clip at the very top, or you go off of your actual coil pack harness like this. So I've gone through and figured out every pin for each one. So the center 4, this will be the passenger head right here. There you go, 2, 4, 6, 8. Right here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Same thing right here on the driver side. Remember, the blank is in the bottom right portion over here. Then we have 1, 3, 5, 7, just like that. So 1, 3, 5, 7. Here it is. If anybody needs to pause it and kind of go over that right there, there's all your cylinders. So now that I've done that, and we know the firing order that this needs to be in, we have the color wire that everything needs to be in full sequential, which this tune was on full sequential. When I started going through this wiring, we have 187265543 LS firing pattern. This guy had it wired in 72543 It's probably why I got that whole harness and ECU for $500. Probably didn't run because he doesn't know what he's doing. Now we are going to cut these off. I'm going to take my strands over there, solder them on one by one, just like I did with all of these. And I even got the crank sensor really nice and heat shrunk. Just need my fuse block to come in. So we'll get the ignition wires, run on those plugs, drape them over, and then when my fuse block comes in, we're gonna mount it right there, start running some power wires and the ground for the mains right here off of the one relay. And then I'm waiting on my connector to go in the car, and then that will go from this right here to that connector. And there we go. Both coils are ready to go, so I can get all that mounted back up. But I wanted to bring the attention back over here to the air pump relay, which is going to be powering the 60 amp fuse going here. That's going to go to that fuse box up here at the top. So this leg on this side right here, this side, is constant hot to the fuse box right there. This side over here, which is inside the box, so you can see a reference of which way this is going. This side goes to pin right here, so you can count over however many in case you're doing the same thing. I'm going to cut the wire about 2 inches down, maybe underneath where that junction is, and I'm going to take my new connector pack that I got and heat shrink a positive and insulated, well, not positive, I guess just a connector. So that will be onto, where did I put the wire at? Oh, it's up here. I'm going to use my VVT, which usually is a Honda or something else wire. I'm going to use the VVT to command 12 volts to cut that relay on, which will cut ignition and injectors. It'll power all that, the 12 volt signal for the crank and all that. So when the ECU turns on from the battery, it's going to turn on these separate circuits to energize everything on the motor. That way the ignition circuit is separate from actually powering everything on the motor. So if there's a failure, everything shouldn't backfeed or anything like that. That is what I'm doing. And while we're on connectors too, I forgot one. I don't know if I said it a little bit ago or not. This one right here, red with the yellow stripe, that is the 12 volts you need to feed to get to put 12 volts to this to get your reverse lights working in the car. So I need to hook this up along with the park neutral safety switch. This needs to go to the reverse circuit on the side of the transmission. So just give you guys a heads up of that. I had to put that one back in and find it from my little pile down there. Update on the connector. So it was the fourth one over right here from the right. I just depinned it because I was worried about 12 volts coming out of the ECU and shorting out on something, so I just completely depinned it. So I'm going to pull or cut that off, and then I'm going to put, I believe, this side, because if this comes out, no power is going to be grounding off anything. I'm going to put the 12 volt side on the insulated side on the Mega Squirt wire with the 12 volts coming in. So if it comes loose, this shouldn't ground on anything, and that way I have a way to disconnect it from this circuit if I'm pulling the harness off as a drop-in style harness. I probably butchered this. So medium current outputs are, let's get this right here, ground switches. So you need 12 volts going to the other side of whatever you are doing. Anything connected here is a ground side. So the left leg, like I said, is constant hot to this set of fuses right here. So when we switch this one, which is a ground, and ground this side over here, it will connect the circuit and turn that on. So that is not 12 volts like I was saying. I'm sorry I confused myself and everybody else, but 12 volts all the time. This is a ground switch. So when I do the boost controller, which I was about to hook to the boost line, this is a ground. So I want the 12 volts from the battery being insulated on one side, and the other side is going to be this one right here. So if it comes loose, this shouldn't ground on anything. So all green medium current outputs on MS3X are ground switches. Here is kind of the goal I am shooting for. Of course, this needs to be down in the valley down here, all the way down, but this is kind of what I'm thinking to go, where the plug is going to go right here. That overall look. which everything's kind of pushed up over here. I decided I'm going to run the valve covers. I'm going to probably just notch the cover over here and then where it is on the ABS. And I think I'm definitely going to use the covers. Let's clean it up a lot more, hide most of the wiring. So I also got my fuse block in. It looks like it was meant for the car. And it has plenty of spots for fuses and a couple relays. Just have to pin everything and then put it on the loom. That should work out absolutely great. I even did one for practice, broke the ears off right here at the bottom, but worked fine, held everything. It uses micro relays, which I'm going to get the smaller 4-post style for whatever relays that I need. And I think I'm going to start pulling everything back off and start running everything one by one over to where the hole is. We are now looking much cleaner. Everything's going to be low under each side, have a little bit of organization to it. Everything's kind of fed into the car. Nothing's cut to length yet. So I'll just cut everything once I get the connector over here. And we have the fuse box right up here. Got a few fuses in there. So we're going to have injectors, coils, 12-volt sensor feeds, boost controller fuse, and then this 5 is going to go here between them, and then a relay for the oil pump, scavenge pump, and then the cutout with another fuse will go there, and then this is full. So I'll have my 3-inch dump cut out for this. Everything will be nice and neat up here, but we have a lot of wiring that still needs to be done, like the 12-volt sensor branch. MAF, crank, cam, water, fuel, oil, and flex all have to have 12 volts fed to the sensors, all from that. And then we have, I think, the same thing right here. It just has my amps there. Inside the car is going to have a few fuses with hot leads, sensor grounds. I need to tee everything into the black with white stripe. That is a sensor ground. All of these items need sensor grounds. And normal grounds, coils and MAF. So one is a sensor ground here on the MAF. The other one is a normal ground. Just go to the block or pretty much right up over here to this ground. And the one side of the coils, I believe this is normal ground, 12-volt feed, and then you have your sensor ground right here on the other corner. So I have to get all those branches made and get the connector for the firewall, get that pinned, loom everything, and I will have a drop-on harness. So if I need to RNI the motor or anything, I'll just be able to disconnect it over here, disconnect it at the firewall, boom, motor comes out. And if you're doing a Megasquirt build like I am, you can go to MS Extra or just Google that and MS3X wiring pinouts, and you can get all this information and the entire manual. And I also did get this GEP fuse box from Kennett Creations. So I'll try to put a link in the description below for him, because there was fast shipping. I think it was like 4 days. I think it was like 40-something bucks. Came with all the pins, all the insulators, everything you need. You will have to have this style crimper right here, which here's a Blue Point part number if you need that on top of doing it. I've also got the Megasquirt harness lead cut in about the same length now for the in-car setup. I had a old connector here. It had both of these on there. I cut one end off. That way it left just that 3-foot or so flying lead, and I guess I'm gonna have the old one for this motor over here. We'll use that one for that Megasquirt. But I have my 47 pin, so that will be one of the next videos. But before that video, I've got some gaskets in here, so I need to finish these manifolds, rip everything off of the front end, and V-band those manifolds so that way those are done. Don't have to mess with those anymore. Gonna be great. Then I can do a wiring video, or maybe the crossover. before the next Mega Squirt video. This video is getting really long now. It is nighttime once again. I've pretty much pulled apart most of this old harness. Give me a whole bunch more sensor grounds, some power wires, and yeah, got to get all that wired. But I'm going to leave that to part 2, which is going to end this one on part 1. If you have any tips or constructive criticism, please let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.